What's up, bros? Matt here from Tallahassee TV, and I'm going to tell you some of my favorite electric bikes of the entire year. I reviewed about 90 e-bikes this year, about 100 e-bikes last year. So I'm just going to tell you some of my favorites. Number one on my list has got to be the Wired Freedom electric bike. Probably literally just the most fun for the money e-bike you can get.
Woo! 43!
Big power. It's really not a beginner friendly electric bike. It's like 3,300 watts of peak power, 43 miles an hour. I have a full review on it.
Full throttle. Oh yeah. Showing 3,400 watts there.
It does have an absolute massive, huge frame. So Wired Freedom is not really for shorter and smaller individuals. Got some notes here. The price for what you get for the money on the Wired Freedom, and when you click the order button, it'll actually show up to your door at a reasonable time. So that's another big bonus for the Wired Freedom. And yes, there are other faster electric bikes on the market than the Wired Freedom, but I like the geared hub motor on this bike and just the giant frame. It fits my body, 6'5", about 200-pound dude, very well. And the new one has dual batteries, as you probably already know, or maybe you don't know, I don't know. One of the downsides was supposedly there's a little bit of a death wobble on it. I never experienced that. I think they fixed it, or maybe it never existed in the first place. So moving on to moped style electric bikes, I've got about 2 or 3 in here, and 2 of those 3 are gonna go to the Billy Goat or the Motor Goat. They're basically the same powertrain now in a slightly different form factor. Personally, I think the seat and the riding position and stuff is a little bit more comfortable on the Motor Goat, but I mean the Billy Goat, I got up to 48 miles an hour.
46, 48, holy!
Like I said, you know, they're both running dual batteries. They've got that 60 volt plus, a little over 60 volt on the direct drive gearless hub motor, the speed motor. So those 2 bikes are just absolutely outrageous for what you get for the money. Definitely in my top moped, not necessarily street class 3 legal electric bikes, but absolutely killer bang for the buck on the Billy Goat and the Motor Goat. So if you're looking for top speed and running high speed for a long time, those 2 are great. Some of the weak points of those 2 bikes are they don't have, you know, like the super most premium components in terms of suspension and brakes. Like they're good, but they're just not, you know, like top tier. And these moped style e-bikes in general are not really good for tall people. And also they're not good for pedaling, especially for tall people. But I mean, they're still a blast, like just a ride. So, I mean, if you're really tall and you want a bike for exercising, I really wouldn't recommend a moped style one. Probably go for, you know, something like the Wired Freedom, a bigger bike for a taller person. Makes sense, right? And another one of my top recommendations on moped style e-bikes in terms of performance for the money would be the GhostCat. So the GhostCat is a geared hub motor, which is significantly different than what, you know, the Motor Goat and Billy Goat are. That is a gearless motor. So the geared hub motor on the GhostCat feels very torquey. It has a top speed of around 37 miles an hour, and the suspension on the GhostCat is super, super supple. The GhostCat's going to be a really good option for a short, light rider, somebody who wants something peppy and relatively lightweight. That's another thing with the GhostCat. The GhostCat is a relatively light e-bike compared to like the Motor Goat. I mean, I think it still weighs like 90-ish pounds. I forget. I have a full review on it, link below the video. But the GhostCat, it just feels like really nimble and peppy, zippy. Go.
So it kicks on 2 kilowatts, 10, 12, 15, 20.
So for moped style e-bikes, those would be my top 2 recommendations for sure. Top 3 recommendations. Again, these aren't class 3 legal by the book electric bikes, but who's checking? I mean, ride them on private property only. So moving on to the next category here, let's talk normie electric bikes, you know, just kind of like a normal commuter style electric bike. I have 2 on my list here in no particular, actually, well, let's just go with the cheaper one first of the 2. The Lectric Xpress 750 step through. I really like the ergonomics on this one. Super comfortable, surprisingly torquey feeling electric bike. The seat on it is nice. Strong torquey motor I have in my list here. It does have the torque sensor, so it makes it for like a really natural, intuitive riding experience on the Lectric Xpress. Downsides of that one are the motor is a little bit noisy. And sometimes with a big powerful motor you just get a little bit of noise, but it is kind of like a known thing people talk about. But the price on that one is pretty affordable, pretty budget friendly. Like your money's gone pretty far for the Lectric Xpress 750 step through, and I like the step through because it gives you that more relaxed riding position with the handlebars that sweep back and the adjustable handlebars, adjustable seat. That seat goes like way up and way down. So, I mean, that bike's going to fit a wide variety of individuals. And if you want something a little bit more expensive, a little bit more premium, I'd have to say the Velotric Discover 2. That one just has an absolutely fantastic TFT color display, wonderful torque sensor. It's got a ton of different ride modes. When I ride it, I'm pretty much always on boost, well, or trail. And they have an actual UL certified battery, a very highly water resistant battery that in one of my reviews, I actually threw it in the ocean, and in my full Velotric Discover 2 review, I threw the battery in some water in like a little pool, and you can actually completely submerge the batteries on these Velotric bikes and they'll just keep working. You have to let the terminals dry off though before you plug it back in. Other notes I have here on the Velotric Discover 2 would be the air tag feature. That's pretty cool in case it gets lost or stolen. You can, you have a chance to recover it at least. I think they're just pretty bikes. They have a pretty nice paint job, a lot of different colors. They look really nice. So those would be my top 2 commuter style picks that stood out to me this year. Let's move on to my probably favorite bike I rode this entire year, and that would have to go to the Eels King's Crown. The suspension on that electric bike is just absolutely fantastic, and it's dual motor and dual battery. Runs on 52 volts. I know it's not 60, but power is voltage times amps, and the King's Crown, I can't really imagine wanting or needing more power than that out of a dual motor electric bike. That thing just absolutely rips. The tires on the Eels King's Crown are like 4.8 inches wide, I believe it is, and they're just like super knobby. So that thing just absolutely decimated riding out on the sand. Is literally like the trophy truck of electric bikes. One downside of it is it's not cheap. It's like $4,600, but I mean, if you're looking for something, pretty bad to the bone, Eels King's Crown is hard to beat. The frame on the Eels bikes, they are pretty top-notch quality. I really like the frames, and had a good torque sensor on the Eels King's Crown as well. But the suspension on that bike, man, hard to beat. It's a very nice riding, very powerful electric bike. Now, if you're looking for a dual motor electric bike, but you're not really willing to shell out that kind of money, some cheaper long range, let's talk long range dual motor e-bike, the Wallke H7 step through. I like that one because it's got the big battery. It's a 48 volt 60 amp hour, which is like 3 times the size of like a normal e-bike battery, and the position of it. So it's like the position of that battery is low and kind of in the center of the bike, and it's got the 20-inch wheels. So 20-inch wheels, step-through frame, long range, pretty darn powerful electric bike. And the price really isn't too bad. I mean, there are cheaper bikes out there, but I feel like what you get for the Wallke H7, and I know Wallke, they make a variety of other models. I tried to. The Wallke H7 is kind of just the one that stood out to me the most. I took it to the steepest hill in Los Angeles, did pretty darn well on that, and just to get there and back is a challenge enough, but to climb that hill after you do that big of a route in Los Angeles, leave it at this. It stood out to me to put on my list. What else we got here? The Mila DK300 Max. That's another dual motor electric bike with 20-inch wheels. So the 20-inch wheels on these e-bikes they give you more of a feeling of torque and force, more acceleration, and also brings the whole bike lower to the ground. The DK300 Max, I feel like, is you get a lot of bike for your money on that one. It goes like 33 miles an hour, which isn't like a crazy high top speed, but actually this one of the reasons this one stood out to me because it has street tires, which is nice if you're going to ride a bike on a street, which I remember because I rode it on the sand and I crashed it.
Oh my goodness, are we gonna? Oh! I totally just lost it.
I spun out and actually bit the dust there in the sand. So don't take street tires on the beach. But for the price, Mila DK300 Max, pretty darn good option. And then next one on my list here would be the EuyBike S4 Pro Max. Everybody's got the Pro Max thing going on this year. I like the EuyBike S4 Pro Max for, depending on when you're buying it, the price, but things I like about it is, well, it's got pretty good power. It is 52 volts, it's got 4 piston brakes, and Samsung battery cells. So it's always great to have quality battery cells in your electric bike. And the rear suspension on the EuyBike Pro Max was pretty quality. It was an air shock adjustable. All you need is a shock pump. You can kind of dial it into your weight. So that's a pretty good option. All these bikes, I have a link below the video in the description box if you want to get the best price and also help support the channel. Should have some pretty juicy discount codes down there for you too. Another bike that stood out to me this year would be the Letrigo, or is it Letrigo? Letrigo? The Minivan SE. So what I really liked about that one was it had steel reinforced gears on a geared hub motor. So I mean, the Wired Freedom has those steel reinforced gears, but I don't think I've seen any other cargo style e-bikes this year that have steel reinforced gears. So that's really great for durability over time. They rate their motor for like over 30,000 miles, I believe, which is just outrageous for an electric bike. And then it has a nice torque sensor on the Letrigo Minivan SE, and I just thought it was a pretty clean looking bike. I really like those lights kind of built into the side of it, and it just seemed like I was impressed with it. It stood out to me for a cargo style e-bike this year. I reviewed a lot of cargo style e-bikes this year, and that's the one that kind of stood out to me. A couple more on the list here, just my stuff that really stood out to me. The Electric Bike Company. If you're looking for something custom, I don't know where else you would go. It's just really cool. They're building their bikes right here in the United States of America. So if you're looking for that, Electric Bike Company's got you. But I mean, the most significant thing with Electric Bike Company is you can just totally customize your electric bike. I made the tail happy bike and got absolutely ripped to shreds in the comments about how bad my design was. I challenge you, go build your own. If you think you can do better, you probably can. They also have a pretty darn good warranty compared to a lot of the companies. And then one more I kind of want to talk about would be the Hovsco HovAlpha step through. So if you're looking for a fat tire, just normie style electric bike, I mean, it goes like 28 miles an hour, but the thing I really like about it is it has a torque sensor that's pretty darn good, and the battery is 48 volt, 20 amp hours. So the battery on the Hovsco HovAlpha step through is a little bit bigger than what you get on a typical normal bike, a fat tire e-bike, and your money just goes quite a bit further buying that bike compared to maybe some of the bigger brands. So choosing the best electric bikes is basically impossible, but these are just some of the stuff that stood out to me this year and some of the stuff I would recommend. So if you do want to buy one of these bikes, click that link below the video in the description box. It helps support the channel, also give you the best price. And of course, I do have full reviews on everything we just talked about here and much more. And if your bike was not on this list, or a bike you want that's not on this list, that doesn't really mean anything. Honestly, there's a lot of good electric bikes out there. This is just some of the stuff that stood out to me. So hopefully this has helped you. Matt here at Tail Happy TV. Thanks for watching, dudes. I'll catch you in the next one.